In my 20s, I had formed a nonprofit organization based on spiritual awareness and trying to give back to others in some way. I was trying to figure it out. I worked with soup kitchens, um, food banks, like homeless shelters, and I found it to be a hopeless cause. Let me explain why. For the same reason, in the past 3 years, I've lived out of my car and I've traveled mainly as an adventure seeker, but not really a minimalist. That's really why I'm doing it. And I kind of have seen the same thing on the road that I saw when I had a nonprofit, which is a big percentage of the people who are very poor and homeless have mental problems or drug problems. And there's very little you can do to help that. I had family members when I grew up that struggled with drugs, and what I realized in going to classes with them, going to rehabs with them, there's not much you can do to help someone who's on drugs, other than love them, support them, obviously be there in an extreme emergency, but people have to want to change. And I've also dealt with people in my family that have mental problems, and what I realized in life is all you can really do is give them their space and have your safe space. You can't really do much. Again, you love people from a distance, obviously an extreme emergency, you make sure that everyone's okay. But I'm saying all that to say, last night I read an article about a professional baseball player just 2 years ago in 2018. He was making good money, and now, last night, or the other night, he was homeless in sleeping behind an airport in Key West, Florida. And the police had tried to tell him, look, just keep it moving or give him resources to go to a homeless shelter. And that's what I've seen on the road. Many times people will give you an opportunity to go somewhere or to get some type of resource. But when you're dealing with people with mental problems or drug problems, they don't want to go, they just want to live on their own and do their thing. But sometimes doing their own thing causes laws and things to be broken in society. It's a tough balance. But not everyone who is destitute is incapable of functioning in society. Now, this professional baseball player was able, he had the abilities to make it to the big leagues, to play for the Dodgers, I believe it was. But, he said he always struggled with anxieties, or at least that's what the news article said. And he had, obviously, the opportunity to go to the best doctors money could buy, because even if he wasn't a gazillionaire, the baseball team would give you the help because they're using you as an asset to win games, etc. So it wasn't a lack of a therapy. It wasn't a lack of doctors. It wasn't a lack of health care. It wasn't a lack of ability. He brought something to the table. He could have been a millionaire, or even if he was an average player, he could have went into sportscasting. He could have went into coaching. So everything in life is not just, can you do something? Sometimes people can do great, unique things that can pay millions of dollars, but they still end up sleeping behind an airport in Key West, homeless and destitute. Why? Mental problems, you can't solve them. Drug problems, you can't solve them. Now, you can put resources in society for extreme circumstances, emergencies, to make sure there's not people starving to death. And I've often shared on this channel, no one in America will starve to death. No one. I know family members right now, they live on food stamps, go to food banks. And that's a good thing. I think we give more to Wall Street than any social program, okay? Federal Reserve pumping money in the stock market, and all the conservatives love it. So to me, I'm not impressed. But I'm sharing this not politically, because it's an interesting human observation. Anthropology is the study of human nature. I remember reading a scripture that Jesus said, the poor will always be among you. And that was one of the things I read in the Bible that didn't sit with me well. There's several things in the Bible I totally disagree with, because I think for myself, the Bible was put together by all men, and religion is used in many instances to control people. And many people in religion were murderers, nasty, horrible people, tyrants. But, I like Jesus' style, and I respect and I'm thankful for what he did as far as like trying to show a different way to look at a relationship with God. But that didn't sit well with me. But until I went on my journey in having a nonprofit and spending time in destitute areas and in my own family and in society, seeing, well, maybe if someone had an opportunity, they wouldn't have these problems. But when you have an opportunity to play for the major leagues and you have opportunity to be a millionaire, and even if you weren't a millionaire, to be a coach, to be a agent, to be a sportscaster, or whatever, to do anything in life, whatever it is. I've had people in my family member, they could have been nurses, they could have did this, they had opportunities, they had resources. But the poor will always be among you. And not just poor financially, but look, some people by choice just disconnect from things and live a destitute life because of an emotional issue, or that's how they want to live. And you have to give people a little bit of their freedom as long as they're not doing something that's harmful to society. I live on the fringe edge, but I still function, still work, still conscious, still positive, follow the laws. But within my extreme life, I see people living extremely, and most people who are homeless or destitute or very, very, very poor, most have mental or drug problems, and you can't solve it. You can put social reform, you can put, and you should put, because we put plenty of resources into Wall Street, plenty of resources with the Federal Reserve. So we should put just as much resources, just as many trillions into social reform. But I just want you to understand that you can't understand a certain level of mental problems, a certain level of drug problems. There's certain people you want to make sure they're not destitute as far as starving to death, or make sure that when and if they're ready, they have help. But what I'm trying to tell you is they have to be ready. They have to be ready. Whether they're in your family, whether they're your child, whether they're an ex-baseball player, whether they're whoever. I mean, if you Google it, you'll find there was a basketball player that played with LeBron James. I forgot his name. I think he slept with LeBron James' mother. He became homeless in Los Angeles because of mental problems. He was rich. He played several years with LeBron James, so he had a few million. Now maybe he squandered it on other things, but I think it was more mental problems. And that's what that scripture means. It came to me later on in life that there will always be the poor among you. And not that you're better than them. There's some people with inheritance trading stocks, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, think they're better than someone. Right? They're not better than anyone, man. Fucking see right through it. But in one sense, look, we're all human. Okay. We're all hopefully saved by grace to a certain extent. You hear me? But there's some point in your life where you search for an understanding of how can a person get to this point? And sometimes the answer is it's just mental. Or they have a drug problem or a mental problem. That's it. And there may be other certain things that happen within their life that push them over the edge. But there's only so much you can do to help as an individual. And, to a certain extent, even as society, but society could do a little bit better, always could do a little bit better there, because that's the ultimate purpose, but people have to have the freedom to choose, to be able to live, again, as they choose, as long as they're not hurting someone. So, it's like, you can't say like, well, but I wanted to share, I think it's an interesting observation of human. So hopefully this video made you think a little bit, help you a little bit. I appreciate those who watch. Thank you to all my members. If you're not a member, consider joining the channel, support it, be part of the members only chat every night. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace and love.